What you're looking at here is a still shot of me at 17 years old. I was a junior in high school and I've been playing guitar for just a little over 3 years at that point. And believe it or not, long before I was able to sweep pick like this, I was sweep picking like this. And before I got my picking speed up to this level, I was, well, not at that level. And my vibrato and phrasing, well, we'll get to that later. But for right now, if you don't know who I am, my name is Mike Filipov and I help guitar players practice as if they had natural talent. Because back when I started playing guitar in the year 2001, I was 14 years old, I used to think that I had zero natural talent for music and guitar. Well, it turned out I was totally right. To give you an idea of just how untalented I was, for the first 5 or 6 months of my playing, I only did downstrokes. I didn't do any upstrokes at all. Now, of course, I knew that upstrokes existed, and I knew that people were talking about something called alternate picking, but I thought in my stupidity that I could get away with just doing downstrokes. In fact, I remember emailing a guitar player I look up to and I said, hey dude, I seem to only do downstrokes when I play, but I hear people talk about this alternate picking and upstrokes. Should I be doing that, or am I okay with just doing downstrokes? And he said, dude, don't worry about it. Just do what comes naturally. If you naturally do the downstrokes and solos, you're going to be fine. Now, luckily, later on, I started experimenting with also mixing upstrokes into my playing, and it went a lot better from there. But basically, for the first 2 years of my playing or so, even though I don't have any videos to show you of the first 2 years of my playing, I kept going to my high school library and checking out this book that you see on the screen right now. There were 2 copies of it in the library, and I would check out one for 3 weeks, then I had to return it after 3 weeks, and I would immediately grab the other one, and I would just keep doing back and forth like that for the next 6 months or so, just to give you an idea that I did not have this thing come naturally to me at all. Now, to make things even harder, I'm naturally left-handed, but I play guitar right-handed, as you can see. So that meant in the beginning, my picking hand was my weaker, my least coordinated hand. However, unlike most people in that situation who are left-handed but play righty and at least have the advantage of starting out with more dexterity in their fretting hand, I did not get that advantage either. That's because I started playing on this acoustic guitar made, I believe, back in the 1970s, back in Soviet Russia. It's a guitar that my mom used to play for me when I was a kid, and the string action on that thing is about this high past the 4th fret. And so when I began playing guitar at 14, I didn't have any money to buy myself a proper electric guitar, and my parents said, hey, if you're gonna play guitar, you gotta learn on this thing that we got at home right here. We're not gonna spend any money buying you a guitar because for what we know, you're gonna quit after a month. So maybe if you stick with it for 6 months or more, then we'll pitch in and help you buy your first guitar. Well, it turned out that I had to pay for my first guitar with my own money anyway, but in the meantime, I developed some pretty crippling bad habits in my fretting hand because I was squeezing the string so hard to compensate for this insanely high string action that I had to then undo all that tension once I got my hands on a proper electric guitar and wanted to build some real speed. So as you can see, my first couple of years with the guitar were pretty much a waste of time. I really had no idea what the heck I was doing. It was all just groping in the dark and relying on trial and error because it was clear I had zero natural talent for learning this thing. Plus, I also thought I was too old to become a good player at 14 years old. Yes, at 14, I wasn't even old enough to drive or vote, but for some reason I decided that that was too old to become a good guitar player. So all these things put together were really crushing my hopes about my potential. About the only thing I got right during this time though was I started to get really serious about learning how to really practice guitar the right way and how to develop proper guitar technique biomechanics while practicing. Somehow I got this idea that if I learned how to practice guitar as if I had natural talent for it, then maybe just maybe I'd have a chance to undo all the deficiencies and all the bad habits that came from not being naturally talented and being too flipping old at 14 to start playing guitar, and that would give me a shot to at least reach some of my goals given enough time. And this brings me to the clip I began this video with. So as I said, this is me at 17 years old. I'm a junior in high school. The year is 2004, and what you're looking at is a little instructional clinic that I put together with the guitar club at my school. I wanted to bring the guitar teacher I started studying with earlier that year to teach all of us live in person at my high school. And that teacher's name is Tom Hess. Yes, I began studying with Tom Hess all the way back in 2004, which is a whole year before YouTube even existed, to put that into context. And out of all the music teachers I've had before or since, Tom Hess has taught me the most about how to become a great guitar player, musician, and how to teach guitar as well. I wouldn't be where I am today as a musician without his training and coaching. However, in this video clip right here, this is how far I've basically gotten in 3 years of being on my own. I was kind of meandering, figuring stuff out by reading forums, and I had a couple of teachers, I think, in that 3-year span. But basically, this is how far I've gotten being by myself. And this is why, as you look at this horrible 2004 quality potato can video footage, you can see all kinds of things wrong in my picking hand as I try to sweep pick. For example, you can see that I'm doing this feather plucking motion with my picking hand by hitting each string individually and then letting the pick bounce away from the strings instead of pushing through the strings like a knife, or like chopping boards in karate with one motion of the hand pushing through the strings to ascend and pulling the hand back in one motion to descend. And because I'm not doing those things, I'm having a hard time sweep picking fast and clean. But hey, fortunately I learned from my mistakes and I know better now, and you know better now. And here's my best attempt at picking fast back in 2004, and you can see there are quite a few things to improve in my technique as well. Now here's my best attempt at some vibrato. I don't like it. What I don't like about it is how it is fast and narrow, which makes the playing sound nervous, and I also don't like that I layer vibrato on top of the note immediately without giving the note a chance to breathe. It sounds like an opera singer singing where the vibrato is on every note immediately, and I don't like that sound. What I do today is I play a note and I let it breathe a little bit with no vibrato, then I often hit it again, and then I add vibrato the second time, and it sounds a lot cooler that way. Sounds much better that way. And around that time, or maybe a little bit later on, I started to see a huge upswing in my progress. Now, I credit a lot of this to Tom Hess, because he was the one teaching and training me at that time, but I also just started to believe in myself a lot more. I started to see the fruits of going deep into the art and science of needle-moving guitar practice and becoming somewhat of a guitar technique nerd pay off. And all of these things eventually evolved into the guitar practicing philosophies and guitar technique concepts I talk about on this channel. Now, many of them, of course, went through multiple dozens of rounds of revisions as I tested and retested them on myself and then later on my students, but it all started back in those days. And then later on, I got into powerlifting, and by training and competing in the sport pretty seriously over the past decade, I've learned a whole bunch of non-obvious techniques and principles and strategies that I've applied relating to training and developing motor patterns and biomechanics that I've used to both improve my guitar playing and help my guitar students improve faster too. So all these things put together kind of got me to where I am today. But perhaps the biggest reason I'm so passionate about talking about practicing and technique and making these videos, I mean, other than the fact that I gotta eat and stuff, is the fact that I know what it's like to take guitar really seriously, to want to become, desperately want to become a really good player, but to feel like you don't have enough natural talent to get good, or to feel like you started too late in life, or that you've got some bad habits you've got to undo, you've got some obstacles like you don't have enough time to practice, or you have the wrong size or shape of hands or fingers, whatever the case is. I know what that feels like because I've been through it all. Okay, maybe I haven't been through all of it. I mean, I didn't start playing guitar that late. 14 is not old by anyone's standards, not anyone with a brain anyway, but I've been through most of the other stuff. What I also found after studying great players in detail, analyzing their technique, and studying really the process of learning and developing greatness in various fields, then this is something I really wish someone had told me when I was a beginner, is that great players, or really great achievers in any field, are way more human than we realize. And the quicker you come to terms with this, and ironically this is quite hard to do for many people, the easier it becomes to believe in your own potential and then do the simple things that are actually going to move the needle on your playing and turn you into a great guitar player and musician. And speaking of which, if you want to build your guitar speed without doing any slow practice whatsoever, check out the link in the description of this video or go to the page on the screen right now. I'm going to show you a free 1-hour masterclass called Guitar Speed Formula. What it is a way to practice where you don't have to start slow and gradually build speed in small increments like everybody tells you to, and you also don't have to practice for many hours per day. In fact, if all you've got is just 15, 20, 25 minutes, that's plenty of time to see some pretty impressive gains in your speed. If you want to know what that's all about, check out that link, enter your email address, I'll send you the video for free. And if you're one of those people who doubts your guitar playing potential and you think that great players just have way more natural talent than you and you just have no hope, I highly suggest you watch this video right here where I talk about how and why you ought to knock great players off their pedestal and why it's going to be to your great guitar playing benefit to do so. Watch this video next.